Welcome again to another segment of Inspired Voices with Sangwadzi Spiwe Mapfumo. I am excited today because my guest, I have to start calling all divas, because we've got a young lady here who, who is got an amazing story, which I felt this is a story that we all need to hear. I kept thinking, Sue, am I inviting you to talk about the products that you make, or am I inviting you to inspire our women? But I think I invited you because I want you to do both. Your story is an extraordinary and exceptional story, and I'd like to welcome you to Inspired Voices with Sangwadzi.
No, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I am so honored. I'm excited to share my story and just get it out there. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So I have to give you a little bit of a background, very small background. She's going to do all the talking. This is a story of a woman who really was thrown the deep end. She found her life, she had a life going well, and found herself thrown in the deep end. And she had to learn to swim from there, and swim to safety, and swim to stardom. That's what I would like to put it, because it's an extraordinary story. So Sue, tell us about yourself. Who are you? Let's hear about your background. Who are you? Who is Sue, before we get into everything else?
Well, I'm Sue. I'm almost 44. I'm 44 next month. I'm a mom of three. I have three beautiful children, two boys and a girl. And I'm a crochet artist. I was born in Harare, bred in Harare for a while, and then moved to Manicaland after my mom passed. My dad had passed earlier. So I sort of grew up in Manicaland, but I got my education mostly in Manicaland. I went to the esteemed St. Augustine's High School, known as Tambe,
Mm-hmm.
and then later went to Mtambara High School. So I pretty much sort of grew up in Manicaland. I was later to go back to Manicaland after years later, after I was married, when my ex-husband had to go and work in Manicaland. But I've worked in Harare, formerly a banker. I was a banker for close to, or even more than 15 years. Then started the entrepreneurship journey after the banking episode. So that's who Sue is. I'm the eldest in a family of three, so I'm the deputy parent to my siblings. So that's who I am, but mostly I'm a crochetpreneur, I'm a crochet artist, I'm a tutor, I teach crochet, and I'm also a mental health advocate. That's who I am.
That that is a lot, yeah. And you know, when I spoke to you, I
Cheers.
felt I felt it all. I felt all these things because you are passionate about all those things, and to me, it sounded like
I am.
yeah. Okay, look, let's talk about what happened. Tell me your story the way you know best.
Okay, so my story mostly because I tell my story to inspire and to give hope to someone that's going through somewhat the same thing that I went through, or something similar, or someone that is just in a hopeless space. So I survived a suicide attempt after my life just seemed to be breaking apart. Everything seemed to be failing, and it was mainly my marriage, and that brought me to the edge. So I was in such a bad space. I was happily married for, well, it was my problems only started, they surfaced after 10 years, a good 10 years in marriage. So I had a pretty much perfect marriage before the problems just, mushroomed from nowhere, really. And that broke me because I was I thought I was the Proverbs 31 woman. I thought I had it all. I thought I had everything in check. When you have the model marriage and then it just starts to fall apart and you don't know what to do, because I'm an orphan. I was orphaned pretty early, at a very young age. So I guess I didn't have anyone to turn to. And that drove me to the edge pretty much, because I had to keep a lot to myself. You know how it is in our culture that you can't really talk about your problems. Kunonzi kufukura hapo. You're not
Hmm.
allowed to. um, you're just supposed to survive through marriage, where even when it's not working. And it's also really said that it's not just a cultural thing, it's also a really spiritual thing, because the church tells you to soldier on. They tell you to pray for your marriage, they tell you to pray for your husband is going to change. And I tried all of that and none of it worked. So I just ended up reaching this breaking point where I just didn't want to live. And mainly for me, it was because of the shame. The shame of what people are going to say. She seemed to have it all. Her marriage looked perfect. She they had the model marriage, and people would be referred to us when they were having marriage problems, and would sit people down and give them advice. And the next thing is just us going through the most. So I reached that breaking point, and I tried to take my life, but fortunately God saved me. I would like to believe that's how it was, because now looking back, and reflecting on that journey, I can really see why it had to go to such an extent, why I had to reach those levels, because now I live in just a space of gratitude and understanding of why I had to go through everything that I did. So that's mainly my story, the story of breaking away from that dark space. And this was brought about by self therapy. And what was the self therapy? It was using my hands. So, in the midst of pain, I discovered I had this amazing gift. And I just happened to stumble upon it when I was trying to cope, because I could not cope. I was
Okay.
struggling mentally. I was a mess. Yes.
Yeah, you spoke to me about the breaking point, and what really touched my what I found very interesting is winding back. You look at it
Yes.
with no anger anymore, with no anger, and just gratitude, that understanding that it had to happen to break you, to break
Yes.
open and get you out of where you were. And you
That's
told me
exactly my
about
story. I now
the business
now
that
when
you
I
had a
when I tell
business
my
with your.
story,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry, I think our network is glitching. I didn't get the
Okay.
last part.
No, I said go ahead. I kind of kept interrupting you. You were telling me about the business that you were in and things fell apart. That's what really drove you, other than the other things that were happening in your marriage.
Can you take that again? I didn't get that. I just got the last part.
Okay. We talked about how your marriage, things fell apart, but we're not going to dwell on why was it happening, what happened. That's besides the point. But you found yourself with nothing
Yes.
after you had built a business with your
Yeah.
husband, and things were going very well. You bought bankers and things were, but things fell apart, and then you got to a point where you were falling apart, like you said. How the therapy was really, it just came. You were not planning on it. You told me you didn't even know how to knit. What happened? Let's start from there, because we haven't even gotten into your business. Go ahead. What happened? How did you get into it?
We had managed to just build this thriving business, and everything was going really well. Financially, we were okay. I thought we were set for life, honestly, because we had this thriving business. We had made a name for ourselves, and then everything just fell apart. And my ex-husband left. And when he left, I just turned 40. I just turned 40. Yes, I just turned 40. And I was left with pretty much nothing. It was just me and the kids and, the Masofa property, the household property. That's all I had. And this was during lockdown. So you know how it was during lockdown in terms of business. When he left, he pretty much left with the sawmilling business. So it was just me and the kids. And I had to really think on my feet. I had to think fast about a way to sustain myself and the kids because remember, life was going really well. My kids were enrolled in a very expensive school. Um, and I had to start paying fees on my own. I had to put food on the table. My eldest son was about to write his A levels, so it was it it was really me being thrown into a corner and forced into a corner. So I had to really think on my feet of something that could sustain me and the kids, and I had to think of a business that would give me money, right there and then, because I couldn't be considering a business that was going to pay me maybe in 3 months because we had to eat then. So fortunately, I'd started knitting. And how did I start knitting? I just happened to get into a shop one day. I saw knitting needles and I decided to buy them. Not because I had any experience knitting. I think the only experience that I had was that from primary school. Back then we used to have home economics, I think around grade 4, grade 5, where you'd be taught the basic knitting stitches. And that's all the experience that I had. But my mom had been an avid knitter. My mom actually made money from making jerseys, but I never got to learn from her because she passed away when I was still very young. And also, I was in boarding school, so we never really had that time for her to impart the skill to me. So I just bought these knitting needles and I started knitting. I remember the first things I made were headbands because my daughter has got really lovely hair. So I made headbands for her. And I thought, "Ah, let me post on Facebook." So I posted on Facebook and people went crazy. Everyone was asking, "So, did you really make this? Can you make some for me?" And that attention, it was therapeutic to me because I was craving attention at home. I wasn't getting any. And now I'm getting attention on social media for something that I've created with my hands. So that was like a fuel for me to keep trying new stuff. So I kept trying new stuff. And then we went into lockdown and I couldn't make orders stuff for people to actually deliver the physical product. And then people they started sort of a knitting revolution during COVID because everyone was so desperate to
Yeah.
find something to do with their time because we had so much time on our hands. So the knitting revolution started and people started reaching out because they were noticing my work and people were asking me to teach them. And then I started teaching people via WhatsApp videos, via Zoom, via Teams, and so on. And I would actually charge a fee for it. So this was when he was still around, I think around the last days. So I had started making money from this. So when he eventually left, this was the thing that I really had in my hands, something that I could just snap up and say, I'm going to do this because it was there already. So I thought, why not? Let me just push this thing and see how far it goes. Then by then, I think I'd started experimenting with bottles. I would upcycle empty wine bottles and whiskey bottles. Um, then I was bold enough to post on Twitter, and it just blew up. Everyone went crazy. People were offering empty whiskey bottles. Then I thought, why not experiment with rope? I started working with rope. I would make baskets and placemats. Then I thought, why not make a bag? And I think it's exactly 3 years ago exactly 4 years ago to the day when I made my first rope bag. It was actually my first bag. And the responses were amazing and I started getting orders. Luckily then there was traffic, people could move about, so I could actually deliver. So I made my first bag and then I started making rope bags. Then after he left, that's when I chose. In fact, I did not choose to. I just decided one day let me try crochet. And then I picked up a crochet hook. I'd never crocheted before. I picked up a crochet hook. I went on YouTube. I tried to find a tutorial to make a bag. But it was unfortunate that most of the videos that were on YouTube were not in English. So most of the people that make crochet bags are actually from Russia. It's very popular in Russia, in Turkey, in Ukraine. So when they upload their videos, it's in their native languages. So I really
Yeah.
had to pay attention and follow the movement of the hands. What is she doing? And I made my first bag. It looked really nice. So I decided, let me post it on Twitter again. So I posted it in Twitter, and it was bought. I think in an hour it was bought. That's how I started crochet, and that's how I realized that, oh, okay, this is actually a business that I can live on.
And tell me, where is it now?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. The progress that I've made. It's been quite the journey. And I'm really grateful because I'm grateful for the networks that I've created, that have been created in the process, because I think the Twitter family, I owe so much to they call it Twitter, Zimbabwean Twitter. I owe so much to everyone from Twitter, because there's been massive support right from the beginning, because people had seen, they'd witnessed the journey from the bottles right up to when I started to make the bags. So I received a lot of support. I created, and also there was a lot of visibility, because media houses started to reach out. I was profiled in mainstream papers like the Sunday Mail, the Standard, and then Zimtrade reached out. I think that was the main breakthrough, when Zimtrade reached out and said, "No, we want to work with you. You've got a product that's export ready, and we just want, your product can do really well on the export market. So we want to work with you and get it to be really export ready." So I joined one of their programs, and I've been like their baby ever since. They even invited me last year to exhibit at the SADC Industrialization Week. So I had my pretty stall up there, and the exposure was amazing. And even meeting high profile people and everyone being awed by my work. And then I also had the opportunity to be part of the US Embassy Next Year Exporter, the AWE Academy for Women Entrepreneurs program, and that really opened my mind as an entrepreneur and as a business person, because you think you know it all. Formerly being a banker and an entrepreneur in another field, I thought, I know how to run a business. I've
Yeah.
run a bigger business than this, but then you realize that there's so much more to it than what you
Well,
know.
you see, because
So
you see, because
because
now
my
the
prior
marketing is
experience
changed.
as a business. Yeah,
Mm.
it has. And my prior experience as a business person in the sawmilling industry was actually self-taught. We had to learn as we went. But now getting industry experts and to come in and really teach you how to run your business and how to grow and scale your business. The journey has been amazing. And also, I think I've managed to really challenge myself creatively, because I don't even remember the last time I used a YouTube tutorial to make a bag. Most of the designs, I just come up with them. I go on the internet for
Mhm.
inspiration, and then because I don't like doing what everyone else is doing.
That's where
I
I was going to
love
go.
being
So,
unique.
you know where I was going to go?
Yeah.
I was in Zimbabwe, and I actually bought a bag kind of like similar. That's made with what's the fabric you use? The it's not raffia. It's the material that you use to. I bought one of those, and I really really love it. But then you see the difference with what I saw on your website is the creativity, the colors, and the finish, and with a tag on it, which is, it could be anywhere. It could be something that I'm buying here in Canada. That is where the difference is. There's so many people who are making these bags and probably making good money, but yours, um
Yeah. Yeah.
the pricing, the quality, it matches the quality of product that you have, right?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, because I try to set my product apart because what gives a business person a competitive advantage is differentiation. So you need
Yeah.
to offer something different. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so that's what I strive for every other day. I try to make it different, because there will always be copycats. Trust me, because I'm
Yeah.
also a tutor. So you find that where the people that you teach are most likely going to be your competition. So
Yeah.
I try as much as possible to challenge myself creatively and just
Mhm.
produce an entirely different product from what everyone else is making, because I happen to be blessed enough to be creatively gifted.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I've acknowledged, and that's why I'm so grateful for this journey. That's why I really appreciate the pain that I went through and everything, all the adversity. It led me to this because it
Mhm.
really got me into a mind space where I challenge myself. I'm constantly challenging myself on ways to create something that's exceptional. And I love. I love being involved in the whole process. So you find that even for the bags that have the leather pieces, I cut the leather, I make the templates myself. I come up with the
Mhm.
templates in my head and I draw them up, and then I cut the templates, I assemble everything, and then I crochet my bags. I infuse the crochet and the leather, and I make
But what kind of
you
material?
end up with a really beautiful product. So I use genuine leather. It's locally produced, and I trust me, African leather is exquisite and it's very luxurious. So
Mhm.
it's such a pleasure to work with, and it's also very durable. So I use the African leathers, the different African leathers. So there's the buffalo leather, there's the cowhide, there's the crocodile leather, and it's been amazing really, because getting to infuse that with the several kinds of yarn that I work with has been amazing, and I've learned so much in the process, because you really get to learn which yarns are appropriate to use with this kind of leather, which is a lot of people don't challenge themselves creatively. We want the easy route where we just find a
Mhm.
design online and draw and copy it as it is. And for me, that's not interesting enough. I love creating stuff from from scratch, and I love having a unique design.
But do you import the yarn that you use? Is it imported yarn?
So there's a certain type of yarn that I use a lot that is I get it locally, but my suppliers actually import it, because the one company that was actually manufacturing this type of yarn, they just stopped manufacturing the product because they thought the numbers were not good. So it's imported. I get it from suppliers that actually import it from China. So you find that most of the yarn comes from China or Turkey. That's where most of the yarn comes from.
Choose the colors yourself, because I did see them. It's a pity because I couldn't download your website. It's got amazing stuff, amazing. The colors are just absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's stuff that I would see if I go to shops here in Canada.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
absolutely yeah, really beautiful. So do they come in the same color, in different colors? Do you choose the colors, and because that's what makes it different, right?
Yeah. So what I did, so one of my suppliers actually started a business after I motivated her, because she reached out during COVID, and she was, oh, I love what you're doing. I can't knit at all, but I know how to ship from China. What would you want? And I told her, you should start a yarn business. It's actually big business, because you find the quality of yarns that we have locally are not that good. So China now has what we call even milk cotton yarns that are friendly to baby skin, because even hospitals had stopped recommended woolen sets because the kids were getting all sorts of allergies. But then
Skin, yeah.
now there's milk cotton, yeah, and it's very sensitive to the skin. So I actually pushed her until she started a yarn business, and now she's my biggest supplier. So I actually kind of have that privilege of telling her, can you bring this in? Can you bring
Mhm.
these colors? Can you bring this type of yarn? And we work really closely together with that supplier.
So your market base, do you just sell to people through Twitter, or how do you sell this? Do you have a shop? Do you have a manufacturing place where? How does this work, or do you just work from home?
I work from home, and I love the flexibility of working from home from my bed.
Mhm.
It's really flexible. So I work from home. I've avoided getting a shop mainly because rentals are crazy in
Yeah,
Harare because
yeah.
I recently moved to Harare, and then also because I make custom goods. So you find that with custom goods, I rarely ever have stock because I make them only on order. Because one will come, people come and choose all sorts of crazy colors. I want mine with purple, blue, and pink, and someone will come. So I can't really preempt what people want. So I wait for people to come to me and they tell me, "Sue, I want this design. I want it in these colors." So I rarely ever have stock on me. So that's why I don't have a shop. Then also, it's really cost effective not to even have a shop nowadays
Yeah,
because,
yeah,
we're in the digital era where people shop online, and there's this
yeah.
level of trust where people are just, yeah, when people just see your product online and they see pictures, they see videos, and they trust you enough to produce what they want. So I
Show
work
me
from
what you
home.
have.
I okay, so unfortunately,
You
I
you
don't have a
showed.
lot because, like I said,
Yeah.
I rarely ever have stock on me. So this is a bag I made a while back. And I was trying out a new design. So it's the rose bag. It looks like a rose. So
Mhm,
I made them different petals. So it's a really
mhm,
pretty bag. It's cute.
mhm,
Ideal for an event, a wedding.
mhm,
You can carry it around like a small clutch. So and also I've got a matching wallet for to go with that.
mhm,
And I have this is my everyday purse. So with the bow, with the cute bow, it's just a shoulder bag.
mhm.
It's a
How
what
much
they
would that
call
go for?
a cross body bag. Yes,
Yes,
with the
you
long
put it
chains.
over here when you go to a party so nobody steals your money or whatever. You'll be dancing away with it, right? Yeah.
Yes,
How much
yes.
how much how much do they range your bags? Because you did tell me that you did those for girls, and then the body bag and like your rose bag. How much do they range?
So the price range is from $55 right up to 200 for one piece. So it really depends on the type of bag, one, the complexity of the pattern, and also the,
Mhm,
the, the type of material that we're using, because you find that the yarn that there's yarn that's available locally, the one that I was talking about. Um, there's a cheaper yarn and there's the more expensive yarns, and also
mhm.
price is really dependent also on the accessories, the number of accessories that I use, because some of the bags come with pretty much a lot of accessories. So like the
Yeah.
chains, the tags, and the little hooks. So that's what determines the price, and also the complexity of the pattern, because there's a
Yes.
bag that the bag that I can make maybe in 2 hours, and there are bags that can take me the whole day. So that's how I come up with my prices. I actually have an hourly rate. So people always laugh at me when I tell them that, but I have an hourly rate, like everyone else that's going to work.
Mhm.
So I have
Of
an
course.
hourly rate.
Of course, of course. It's totally amazing. So you told me a little bit about your coaching, people who are interested, and because I'm
Yes,
assuming all these you make them yourself. You don't really have, if you have anyone who
yes,
works, I'm assuming they are there to put them all those little accessories,
yeah,
but the knitting
just the
itself, you do it
finishings.
yourself.
Yes,
The knitting, you do it
yes.
yourself.
Yes, I do. I do the knitting myself because I don't want to compromise on quality because you
Yeah.
know what happens with crochet. What happens with crochet, it's like everyone's art of crochet is as different as fingerprints because everyone has a different way of holding their yarn and how they hold their hook, and that's what determines the final look. So even if you go online, if you go on Facebook and you go to crochet groups, you find that one bag will have a different look. I always see that in my classes. I can have a class of 10 people and we're making exactly the same thing, same yarn, same crochet hook, but the look and the feel is always different. So I was really keen on building a team of people to work with, but then I really noticed that, it was just different. The look and the feel was different. And I think also the privilege of the crochet industry is that there are people that are really willing to pay the right price for a crochet product, and they want your touch because
Mhm.
there are people that don't
Mhm.
want, even if I try referring them and I say I'm busy, can I refer you to someone else that I know can make this? And they're like, no, Sue, I want it with your touch. So we're like uh, painters, you really
Mhm.
can't delegate. You have to
No,
do it
no.
yourself. Yeah.
So those ones you teach, how many students do you have at any given time, and how much is it? Because again, we want to amplify what you're doing and the work that you're doing. Invite other women. The other piece, I'll invite you again just for the empowerment piece, because I totally was blown. I couldn't believe it. But I want to help you with Inspired Voices to get women who are interested. That's why we put your name down there.
Yes.
From
Yes.
a para handmade crafts, and the phone number there. Those who are interested, who might want to reach out to you. How many people do you have at any given time, and how much?
So my class is a 3 hour session. I do a once or 3 hour session, and it costs $45 for that 3 hour session. That's inclusive of material. So what we do, what I do is I teach the basics of crochet, and then there's so this is mainly the beginner class. So for the beginner class, I have a certain bag that I teach. So after those 3 hours, you come out with a miniature bag of that pattern that I teach beginners. So it's basics of crochet and a miniature bag. It's just a basic bag, but the beauty of that bag is that it's got two stitches, and it's the same pattern as that of a scarf. It's the same pattern as that of a hat, a woolen hat. So
Yeah, yeah.
you can pretty much maneuver in which direction that you want after the lesson. So it's a 3 hour session. It's a once of 3 hour session. And I get a lot of people asking me that after 3 hours, will I be okay? I've never held a crochet hook. Trust me, I teach from people from as young as 9 years old. And after those 3 hours, even 10-year-olds will be able to crochet and make a bag.
I promise you, next time I come there, I'm gonna come there for 6 hours. I want to come out.
You should. You should. You should. It's
Sue,
really
it's
fun
amazing.
because I love
Yeah,
imparting the skill. For me, it's
yeah.
more, it's as much as this has done a lot for me, financially being able to take care of the kids, and sustain myself. But for me, it's more about the impact because I
Mhm.
know there are so many. It's very important for us to get women to be financially independent because a lot of women, and even men, a lot of a lot of people are stuck in relationships that are not working just because they are scared of getting out because they don't know how they are
Mhm.
going to get their next meal. So I feel like if people were to really explore and find out what skills they have or even learn new skills, because we've got this resource that we call the internet, you can pretty much go on YouTube and learn a new skill nowadays. So I just want to impart this skill so that I get as many women to be financially independent and not to just stick around for the convenience
Mhm.
of being a wife or convenience of having a partner that's taking care of them, and yet the relationship is not working. And also, I love imparting the skill to young children because I I want us as parents to nurture skills in our kids, so that, because we've got this pandemic, especially with young girls that expect to have everything done by their boyfriends. They want their hair done by their boyfriends. They expect the boyfriends to get their nails done, to give them data. So once you impart that skill and nurture the skill in a young child, you've already empowered them, because they're not going to be stuck. If they don't get a job, they can as well use their hands. So that's why I teach the young kids, and I try and empower young girls and women.
I applaud you for that, Sue. Honestly, you know what? Time goes so fast. We've been talking for 35 minutes. That's why I said, I'm going to have to invite you second time around. Then we can talk a little bit more about inspiring women. And like I said to all divas out there, you need to take care of yourself. Make sure you pay for your own hair. You have your nails done. You got your money for data. You don't have to expect other
Yes,
people to do that, because you compromise your dignity really in the process. And so thank you so much for
exactly.
coming.
In the
Yeah,
process.
yes. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
and
for
talking to
having
me
me. It
about
was
the work.
such a joy.
Amazing. Okay, so sit still, and I just want to goodbye to everybody, and please follow us on Inspired Voices on YouTube channel, Inspired Voices with Sangwadzi. And then you keep, if you subscribe, then you get to see more and more of some of these people I'll be bringing to you, who are telling us, who are ordinary people who are doing amazing stuff in our communities. And we can educate other people, we can inspire other people, we can change people's lives. And a person like Sue is a good example of, you don't have to end where you started. You can ride the tide and fly high. Thank you so much, Sue. And for everybody, I'll see you next week. Sue will be on, and to inspire you. Thank you so much.